Charlie Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept the View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to neo.
Sunny Hostin just imploded on live television after Charlie Kirk delivered a blow so humiliating it froze the View's audience in stunned silence, unsure if they should clap or call emergency services. What began as a heated back and forth quickly descended into chaos as Hostin's arguments collapsed faster than a dollar store wine glass under pressure. Kirk didn't just win, he flattened her completely, leaving Hostin visibly shaken, fumbling for a comeback that never arrived. This wasn't debate, it was a brutal televised demolition that left nothing standing.
Her disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men, actually, voting more for him. And you have, and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
Right. Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach.
There are meltdowns, and then there are televised implosions, so raw and unforgettable, they deserve a full documentary, and maybe even a candlelight vigil. Sunny Hostin's latest collapse on live TV, yes, that second unforgettable one, was a disaster so perfectly disastrous, so wildly unfiltered, it felt like history being written in real time. It was chaos so pure it belongs in a museum under the label, Talk Shows Gone Terribly Wrong.
Look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away with it. And the reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last week.
To be fair, Sunny wasn't ambushed. There were no surprise guests, no sudden walk-ins, and no screaming chaos on set. It was simply the shockwave of Charlie Kirk's digital wrecking ball crashing through the airwaves like a caffeine-fueled sledgehammer. He didn't even need to be in the studio or anywhere near her to shake the ground beneath her feet and send her composure tumbling.
White privilege is a racist myth that is rooted in bigotry, trying to classify people based on their skin color. If you are a racist, you have something to apologize for. If you're a white person who is not a racist, you have nothing to apologize for. And anyone who makes you apologize just based on the color of their skin, they're the racist and you're not.
This was media warfare at its most explosive. Charlie Kirk launched a polished political grenade straight from his own platform, a razor-sharp video crafted like a weapon, where he targeted Sunny Hostin's worldview as if it was his sworn enemy. Facts didn't matter, subtlety didn't exist. The production had it all: flashy graphics, slow zooms, dramatic music, turning criticism into pure destruction. Kirk didn't just go for the jugular, he ripped apart the entire foundation and served it back with a smug grin, while the internet devoured every frame like a feast.
This Turning Point conference, the were in the front of out there in front of the conference with anti-Semitic slurs, and I think it's important that every single person that attended that turning point, every Republican speak up against the swastikas, against the flags that were waved.
You let them in.
President, open your
You let them in and you knew what they were.
Right.
So you are complicit.
The clip spread like wildfire, racing through Twitter in hours and flooding feeds with headlines screaming Charlie Kirk shatters daytime delusion and Sunny Hostin slammed by reality. Subreddits erupted, comment sections went feral, and reaction channels swarmed like vultures at a banquet of outrage. Suddenly, The View, usually a scripted comfort zone, looked like a cruise ship in a hurricane, everything rattling and sinking fast. Sunny Hostin, the polished legal mind known for composure, began to visibly unravel before millions. She didn't flip chairs or shout. This wasn't reality TV chaos. It was worse. The slow, painful collapse of composure itself. Nervous fidgeting, forced smiles, a wobbling voice. Every crack on display as if her inner thoughts were screaming, "Am I getting ratioed on live TV?" And miles away, Charlie Kirk was already basking in victory, proving this wasn't about truth or fairness. It was about dominance. In that instant, Sunny became the unwilling face of public humiliation, immortalized in memes forever.
And the final point I'll say is this, is Sunny, you guys thought that abortion was going to be this like quasi-zealot religious issue? I'm pro-life. If people in the audience aren't, that's fine. What I'm saying though, what gives me promise, and I think we can all agree on this, is that there are other issues that should animate and drive our politics other than this very divisive one. And I was really encouraged by that, Megan. Very encouraged, because the media was forcing this as an up or down vote on a referendum on a highly complicated, very emotional, very personal issue. And it turned out the American people were like, yeah, actually, these other 6 things matter more, and good for them.
And that's exactly why Kirk struck when he did. It's his signature move: reduce public figures to hashtags, strip them of nuance, and roast them over the roaring flames of meme culture. He didn't need to be accurate. He just had to be louder, flashier, and 2 steps ahead in the online battlefield. And that's exactly what he was. While Sunny was still sipping her weekend lattes, Kirk had already dropped 6 viral edits, 1,000 looping GIFs, and even a merch line cashing in on the chaos. Her downfall wasn't just losing an argument. It was being steamrolled by a digital freight train of outrage. She thought she was navigating a light drizzle of criticism, only to find herself in the middle of a full-blown media hurricane. The View has weathered scandals, walk-offs, and explosive debates before. But this was something else entirely. This wasn't conversation. It was siege warfare, a cyber ambush aired in real time. The cameras, merciless as ever, caught it all. The shaky posture, the desperate glances at the teleprompter, and a voice collapsing like a tower of cards.
Welcome back. You know, in Monday's conversation about Turning Point USA, I put the young people at the conference in the same category as the protesters outside. And I don't like it when people make assumptions about me. And it's not any better when I make assumptions about other people, which I did. So, my bad. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So,
Online, the wolves smelled blood and pounced without mercy. Reaction channels looped her discomfort endlessly. Conservative blogs hailed it as a cultural triumph, and TikTok teens turned her pained expressions into memes with the speed of digital piranhas. Meanwhile, Kirk stood tall like a smug lighthouse in the storm, his supporters crowning the moment as proof that old-school media had finally crumbled under the weight of New Age commentary. And honestly, they weren't wrong. Because in the digital era, it's not reason that wins. It's optics. Who looks calm? Who stirs emotions? Who adds the perfect soundtrack? Sunny had none of it. The moment that clip hit the internet, the algorithms picked a side. And it wasn't hers. This wasn't a debate of ideas. It was a meme war, and she showed up armed with a footnote against a flamethrower. Kirk's package was so ruthless, it didn't invite response. It demanded containment. It wasn't analysis, it was weaponized media, sleek and merciless, broadcast in high definition for the world to consume.
Yeah, they have nothing else to talk about. Maybe you should get the lawyer that worked on that Covington Catholic school case. What was that, a $200 million settlement? I think, Charlie, you could use the money, and your students definitely could, too.
And when the blow landed, it tore straight through Sunny's carefully crafted image like a missile strike. For years, she built herself up as sharp, steady, and morally unshakable. But none of that mattered once the internet crowned her the week's favorite punching bag. It wasn't even about her opinions. It was about the optics, the spectacle, the cracks in her composure that made her look fragile when the cameras never stopped rolling. In the brutal world of television, looking human isn't strength, it's weakness. Charlie Kirk didn't win because he was wiser. He won because he was ruthless, spectacular, and mercilessly entertaining. The internet doesn't cheer for facts, it cheers for blood. Daytime television was supposed to be safe, a polished arena of rehearsed lines and polite sparring, but not anymore. It's just another battlefield now. Sunny walked in, ready to serve polite debate, but instead, she was ambushed by a digital onslaught with no escape hatch, no rebuttal, no defense, just a visible collapse under the crushing weight of viral perception. That single clip became a cinematic tragedy, a sudden strike, a slow descent, and millions still watching as she unraveled in real time.
Look at your achievements. How do you like the so-called uneducated now, Sunny?
Yeah, and again, by the way, rarely do you get the answer to a question in the question. And her whole question is exactly why there was a rebellion against them.
Yes.
Listen, just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. I always differentiate between knowledge and wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. I mean, or about North African lesbian poetry. Okay, that stuff's fine, I guess.
Once your image gets reduced to a punchline, there's no graceful escape. It's a feeding frenzy. Kirk's victory lap wasn't subtle. It was a full-on social media parade with TikTok edits, smug screenshots, and endless recap reels flooding every corner of the internet. And of course, the media piled on too, picking sides not for fairness, but for clicks. Suddenly, every blink, every pause, every strained smile of Sunny's became a headline. Entire articles dissecting her body language as if blinking too fast was a national scandal. This wasn't journalism. It was cannibalism disguised as commentary. And the cruelest twist? Charlie Kirk didn't even set foot on that stage. He dismantled her reputation remotely, armed only with the raw firepower of viral media. Just like that, the so-called fortress of liberal daytime TV collapsed under the roar of TikTok mockery, Twitter trolling, and Gen Z's ruthless sarcasm. Sunny tried to bring courtroom logic to a meme war, but Kirk showed up wielding a flamethrower and a library of GIFs, and the internet feasted on every last scrap.
Now we begin with a shocking apology just a short time ago from the ladies of The View to Turning Point USA. A war of words broke out after the conservative group was rallying the next generation of voters at its youth summit in Tampa, Florida this weekend. And the liberal panel just couldn't help themselves. The group sent a scathing cease and desist letter after hosts on The View suggested that Turning Point had embraced neo-Nazis who showed up outside the event.
For years, liberal media clung to the comforting belief that truth will prevail, that enough research, a dash of legal expertise, and a calm, steady tone could sway audiences sipping their afternoon tea. But not anymore. Not in 2025, when viewers scroll past economic reports to click on videos screaming, "Liberal meltdown," after getting destroyed by common sense. The rules have changed. Audiences don't want nuance. They want political theater, WWE style, with verbal body slams, trash talk, and chairs flying through the air metaphorically. Debates aren't about airtight logic now. They're about who creates the most viral clip. If your opponent turns you into a 10-second meme with sad violin music in the background, you've already lost. Kirk didn't arrive with legal briefs. He unleashed a digital wrecking ball. And the cruelest twist? He didn't even need to be there in person. He detonated the clash remotely, winning like a fighter landing knockout blows via drone strike. Meanwhile, Sunny sat in the ruins of her own credibility, blinking in disbelief as her polished resume proved powerless against the merciless law of viral humiliation.
Over the weekend, Turning Point USA hosted a riveting event in Tampa, Florida called the Student Action Summit. Outside of the event were individuals waving flags and engaged in other activities. Well, on Monday's show, members of The View made a few comments about it.
The conservative group Turning Point USA has condemned the group of neo and said they have nothing to do with the organization.
Yeah, but where was DeSantis is what I want to know.
But you let them in.
President, open your
You let them in and you knew what they were.
Right.
So you are complicit.
And here's the cruel truth. Liberal media still hasn't figured out how to fight this new battlefield. They're stuck in a past era, sipping lattes and believing calm reasoning will eventually win the day. But this isn't a courtroom, it's a circus. And when you walk into the ring armed with facts, while your opponent juggles fire and shouts through a megaphone, the crowd won't look at you. They'll look at the flames. Sunny's image took a harder hit than any politician caught in a hot mic disaster. Not because she was wrong, but because she looked cornered and defeated. In today's digital world, appearing weak is worse than losing outright. The internet doesn't run on fairness. It runs on optics. And the optics showed Sunny being crushed by a man who probably practices takedowns in his bathroom mirror. The damage wasn't temporary, it was permanent, because that clip spawned an entire universe of edits and remixes. TikTok loops, YouTube breakdowns, reels with clown emojis, and influencers mocking her without even knowing who Karl Marx is. Sunny's once polished poise shattered into thousands of viral fragments, stitched, posted, and monetized by an endless army of opportunists hungry for clicks.
Monday, we talked about the fact that there were openly demonstrators outside the Florida Student Action Summit of the Turning Point USA group. We want to make clear that these demonstrators were gathered outside the event and that they were not invited or endorsed by Turning Point USA. A Turning Point USA spokesman said the group, quote, 100% condemns those ideologies, and said Turning Point USA security tried to remove the neo-Nazis from the area but could not because they were on public property. Also, Turning Point USA wanted us to clarify that this was a Turning Point USA summit and not a Republican Party event. So we apologize for anything we said that may have been unclear on these points.
In today's ruthless media circus, image is currency. And when someone flinches, the vultures don't just circle, they live stream it for profit. Sunny might hold on to some support among traditional viewers, but in the digital gladiator arena, she'll need far more than composure. She'll need an entirely new battle plan, because audiences don't log on searching for justice. They log on for blood, popcorn, and the next viral explosion. Her breakdown wasn't loud, it wasn't staged, it was far worse. It was raw and real. And if you're not ready to play in the circus will drag you in anyway. So here lies Sunny Hostin's media reputation, burned, memed, and endlessly looped. A once unshakable voice now reduced to blinking eyes, replayed across the globe. Charlie Kirk has already moved on to his next target, grinning from his digital throne, while Sunny struggles to recover in silence. But the internet never forgets. And humiliation is always just one viral clip away.